From the University of North Carolina School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics, this is Sports Extra.
Now, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the fall and winter, you'll find plenty of people gathered around watching one sport we've been talking about a lot, football. But sometimes we have to put our fandoms aside because, this American tradition can have some serious consequences that affect the health of those involved.
Number 33 Nathan Staub was a linebacker for the UNC football team. Unfortunately, his college playing career was cut short due to injuries. Not a bad knee or a tweaked shoulder, but concussions. It's something he's dealt with ever since high school.
And we're playing in the Georgia Dome. And in the second quarter, at the beginning of the second quarter, I looked over to someone and said, "Where am I?" If you're in the Georgia Dome, you should know where you are.
After a loss to Rutgers last December in the Quick Lane Bowl, Staub made the decision to hang up his cleats for good.
Mom, I've passed all the tests, and she looks at me and she says, "Nathan, so are we waiting for you to have permanent brain damage for sure before you stop playing?"
Stories like Staub's have become all too common in football over the past decade. According to a PBS study, there have been 484 concussions reported in the National Football League since 2012. Numbers like this have caught the eye of Associate Professor at the UNC Gillings School of Global Public Health, Louis Margolis. On some Saturdays, you can see Margolis picketing football games outside of Kenan Stadium in an attempt to, as he puts it, educate the fans.
I'm concerned because we don't know what's going to happen down the road.
Margolis says encouraging people to play football is like rooting for people to smoke.
But we don't gather people together to cheer people on in their smoking. We say, let's prevent smoking. Let's do what we can to prevent what we know will have long-term harmful effects.
PhD student Michael Clark works at the G. Feller Sport-Related Traumatic Brain Injury Research Center, working directly with student athletes dealing with concussion symptoms. Clark agrees with Margolis football can be very dangerous when it comes to head trauma, but concussions in other sports and activities happen often too and should get more focus.
Everyone on the football field is wearing a helmet, but some of the rates that you see for number of helmets worn while bicycling, are less than half.
Staub knows all this, but if he had the chance to do it all again, he wouldn't change a thing.
You can't protect your kid from everything. And football teaches you so much. And the risk is there, but there's risk in everything.
But will it be a risk the rest of the world is willing to accept?
Clark said that so far this fall semester, the G. Feller Center has seen about a dozen concussion-related injuries. Half of them are from football.
Let's go live to Kenan Stadium. Jordan Black is there to recount past Tar Heel glory against NC State. Jordan?
Thanks, Rivers. As the Heels prepare for a huge rivalry weekend, it's only appropriate that we recap the awesome moment that was beating State in 2012. And guys, I did something that the Wolfpack couldn't do. I caught up with Gio.
35, Gio, he's at the 50. No, he's not. Yes, he is. Gio is going to take it for a touchdown. Are you kidding me?
Arguably one of the most historic Carolina football moments.
There are people still talking about the play, still kind of like, I was sitting right here, I was sitting right there.
Giovani Bernard's 73-yard punt return against NC State, clinching the Heels' first win against that Red School in Raleigh in 6 years.
We knew that we wanted to win. We knew they've beaten our butts for the past couple of years, so it was something that we had to win.
Before he played his Saturdays in Kenan and Sundays in Paul Brown Stadium for the Cincinnati Bengals, Bernard spent his Friday nights in Brian Piccolo Stadium for the St. Thomas Aquinas High School Raiders. St. Thomas athletics director and former head coach George Smith says he knew he'd see Bernard making big plays one day.
In situations like he was in then, where seemingly the game was on the line, which it was, he was the perfect storm for the opposing team. And that's how he played a lot when he was here.
Smith led the Raiders to 6 state championships during his 34-year coaching tenure, 2 of which came during Bernard's St. Thomas years. Smith says it's not just Bernard's innate athleticism that led him to become a standout.
The way he is with people and the way he treats the people that are around him, he will be remembered for that as much as the great accomplishments he's had on all the athletic fields he's been on.
Bernard's modest, but he says character can play a role in football.
I'm just a scrappy kind of guy. I'm always going to try to do the best. I'm always going to try to be there for my teammates.
Whoever he touches and runs into will benefit from that.
And at the end of the day, Bernard says he's just blessed.
Obviously a happy person. I'm glad it worked out the way it did. Obviously it started when I was younger, having the passion for the game of football.
You know, guys, I was going to do that punt return like Gio and reenact it. I'm not quite as fast as him, but I did make it to the end zone. And you know, guys, even though we don't have Gio anymore, the Heels are perfectly capable of making big plays. And Carolina fans don't really care how the scoring happens, just as long as there's a lot of it.
The Heels took the road to get pumped. It's time for the season finale of Heels on the Bus. Here's Paul Beam.
The Heels traveled up to Hokieville on Saturday for a date with destiny. A UNC win would clinch the Coastal, but it was also the last home game for legendary coach and my distant relative, Frank Beamer. And the Tech fans were showing their appreciation. Beamer has 277 career victories and even took the Hokies to the 1999 National Championship game. Virginia Tech has tons of football history, being the alma mater of Bruce Smith, Michael Vick, and Joe Flacco, Cam Newton. Ha! Nice try, Virginia Tech. But Carolina is the team with title aspirations this year, and the fans can feel it. The band was enjoying the limelight. Even some of the crew members from Sports Xtra took a break to enjoy the festivities. But it seemed like football played second fiddle at Lane Stadium to the food. I sampled some of the famous kettle corn. Was it good? I guess you could say it was poppin'. After a hard-fought game, the Heels were eventually able to gobble up the Hokies and take home the Coastal Division title. TJ and Romar know what's up. Put a ring on it. In Blacksburg, I'm Paul Beam, reporting.
No worries, everyone. Heels on the Bus will make a return. We'll see them in March for the ACC tournament.
On a more serious note, famed ESPN sportscaster Stuart Scott is now a member of the North Carolina Journalism Hall of Fame and a Tar Heel trailblazer. Samantha Ward was at both of these emotional induction ceremonies for the man who was truly a true blue Tar Heel.
Tar Heels everywhere will forever remember Stuart Scott for his many accomplishments as a sportscaster at ESPN, for his big personality, and for his even bigger love for Carolina.
He was a Tar Heel. Guys, when I said he would cry when Carolina lost, he would cry. He would kick my parents out of the room if they were losing and then, they started winning. He insisted that everything aligned so that Carolina Tar Heels could win.
Fellow Carolina legend and Stu's close friend, Mia Hamm, presented the Hall of Fame award to Stuart's sister, Susan Scott.
Whenever you met him and talked to him, you just felt this amazing kind of energy and life force.
Stuart was also honored at Late Night with Roy, where friend and fellow ESPN sportscaster Sage Steele received a customized UNC jersey featuring a nickname that she and Stuart shared. His daughters Taylor and Sydney then took the court to thank the crowd and talk about just how much their dad loved being at Late Night.
He loved UNC, he loved basketball, and he loved Late Night. And wherever he was, he always did his best to make it back to Chapel Hill for this event.
Even though Stuart lost his battle to cancer, his legacy will continue on through his family and his love for Carolina.
I don't know why some of us survive cancer and it takes others, but I do know this. It is never about beating it physically, because in the end, we're all just dust. It is about beating it mentally, and perhaps even more important, spiritually. And on those two fronts, Stuart Scott was a boss. He was a rock star.
What's worse
than waiting in line at the DMV. According to some Carolina athletes, it's finding a spot to park your scooter. Our Gage Tillotson joins us live from outside Kenan Stadium. Gage?
Thanks, Lewis. All those athletes used to freewheeling and cruising around town might have to pump the brakes to avoid a ticket.
Sydney Holman is a junior on the women's lacrosse team. She lives in an off-campus house with 6 of her teammates. Walking to class and to practice is out of the question, and the bus times don't always match up with her busy schedule. That's why Holman got some extra equipment, a shiny new scooter.
Huge reason why I bought it is because I live off campus now, and to get to practice, which usually is either on Navy Field or Finley Field down by the golf course, is pretty much a pretty big hike.
A 1.9-mile hike to be exact, but getting there isn't the problem. Parking is the struggle for Holman and other athletes.
The only bad thing about it is that I wish there were more spots to park in around campus.
Most athletes have found parking to be a bigger issue this year than before. That's because of a new state law. Public Safety Director Connie Bullock explains.
It was to require that all scooters and mopeds, not just on campus but throughout the state, were registered through the Division of Motor Vehicles.
Holman says the registration process is quite a hassle. Student athletes are busy, and it's hard for her to find time to go through the process.
The new law was a little bit of a nuisance, especially with getting license plates and having to get it registered.
Even though they're a little upset, Holman and other athletes understand the alternative, walking everywhere, would be much worse. Lewis, back to you.
I totally get it. Trying to park on my car on campus is the worst. Gage Tillotson live from outside Kenan. Thanks, Gage. Many UNC athletes work their entire lives to hone their skills in one sport. Sean Kavanaugh shows us one Tar Heel who spends every practice working on a lot more than one.
Student athletes have to juggle a lot between school and their sports. Tori Kemp has to juggle between school and 7 sports. The redshirt junior is a heptathlete for the track and field team.
So the heptathlon is 7 events and it's split between 2 days.
Kemp is used to playing multiple sports. She played 3 sports in high school and almost went to college for volleyball, yet something about track just stuck out.
I've always kind of just loved the fact that track is, to me, one of the ultimate competitions you can be in. I mean, there's not a lot of fluff.
Kemp's coach, Josh Langley, thinks that love for competition started at a young age.
Probably her father's influence, and also her brother being as competitive as he was. I'm sure every day was a competition in the Kemp household.
Her family tree is very high level indeed. Kemp's father played football at Colgate, her brother played lacrosse at UNC, her cousin played basketball at Kansas State, and her uncle Ron Anderson played in the NBA. That athletics background might have something to do with Kemp's diverse athleticism.
This is kind of part of our family culture to just, be involved in athletics. And so that definitely kind of helped me for college, just kind of ripping and running throughout the year.
Kemp hopes to keep ripping and running this season as she tries to beat her personal heptathlon record, which is already the 3rd highest in school history. In Chapel Hill, I'm Sean Kavanaugh reporting.
Pretty impressive, I played 7 intramurals last spring, so I guess that makes me a septathlete.
So, field hockey was just really rifling some shots in there, Lewis.
Well, it kind of reminds me of a gun club on campus, and, we're not talking about your 2 favorite Sports Extra anchors. Jan Jung has more.
The gunshots come from a group of highly focused UNC students. When it comes to potentially dangerous weapons, everyone is on his or her best behavior.
You have to be really careful with what you're doing. You can't be absent-minded.
First priority is definitely safety. We give every member a safety class before they're even allowed to go to the range, and even then we have the range leader. She teaches safety class right before just to make sure everyone's safe. We have RSOs, range safety officers. No one has ever been hurt on any of our range trips, which is great. And we'd like to continue that.
Because of the irresistible temptation of the provocative sounds of the gunshots, I tried my hand at target shooting under the close watch of the president of the Tar Heel Rifle and Pistol Club. It did feel liberating. though my shoulder is not built for that. The welcoming environment of the club is made obvious through the hands-on experience as well as the diversity of the club's members.
My name is Barbara. I come from Slovakia. I'm spending my semester here as an exchange student with Keenan Flagro Business School. I'm never going to have a chance to touch a gun if not here, so basically I was searching for a pistol club here.
We're kind of unique in that regard. There isn't really an organization that takes students on a large-scale basis like we do. By nature, this is a very political topic, but we're here to take the politics out of it.
This sport teaches a shooter to reach a controlled, peaceful inner state in a noisy environment. And that is something beneficial for a lot of people trying to deal with the stress of school and work. In Apex, I'm Jen Zhang, reporting.
If those gunshots excite you too, the membership fee is only $5 every semester for as many range trips as you sign up for. Keep this in mind, safety always comes first. Do you run more than 100 miles a week, brush your beard with a bamboo comb, and enjoy peanut butter and ramen sandwiches? If so, then you must happen to be related to Stephen Mullerin. Jack Friedman tells us more about the mountain climbing cross-country captain.
Junior Stephen Mulheron is a cross-country star and self-proclaimed mountain man. This summer, he took on the second highest peak in Wyoming and set the third fastest time on its trail.
I really like the Grand Teton over in Wyoming. That's my favorite mountain in the United States. I really want to get good at climbing mountains, become like a respectable mountaineer, but I'm in the early stages of that because I'm stuck here in North Carolina, so I'm really working on the running part.
Mulheron also worked for a whitewater rafting company in Wyoming, which he says was a good way to recover from all the running. Instead of finding somewhere to stay each night, Mulheron would sleep in his car. As you can see, he can easily set up a bed in the back of his prized Subaru Forester. He says it's actually quite comfortable. His room is filled with the prizes of a mountaineer, including a band of Himalayan flags, a 0-degree sleeping bag, and a pair of Longhorns from Arizona. Head cross-country coach Mark Van Alstyne says Mulheron's climber's mindset has helped him become one of their leaders on the track.
He likes to foster kind of this hardcore mentality, this mountain man persona, and I think with that comes a certain degree of toughness.
Next summer, he hopes to return to the Grand Teton Trail to set the fastest time.
It really just depends on how my running goes this year, but I could see myself back out west pretty easily.
Mulheron also wants to win an All-American title at Carolina before he graduates. He recently finished 3rd overall in the Adidas Cross Country Challenge, proving he just might have what it takes to climb that mountain. In Chapel Hill, I'm Jack Friedman reporting.
In order to reach All-American status, Mulheron needs to place in the top 40 in the national rankings.
More than 800 participants, all overshadowed by one special little runner. Aaron Wygant explains.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
With the blare of a horn, the 4th annual Kilometers for the Kids was off and running. Sunday's rain couldn't keep the students, families, and community members from doing their part to support the patients and families of UNC Children's Hospital. Patients like Andrew Murphy.
Andrew actually is one of our KICO captains, and I actually met him last year at a hospital prom event.
When Andrew was 3 years old, a lawnmower ran over his right leg, putting him in the hospital for 2 months. Now, the recovered 5-year-old is standing on his own 2 feet and leading the race.
We thought it'd be really special for him to lead the fun run this year since he is able to run.
And run he did. It's kids like Andrew who give junior Eric Royer a reason to run, and run fast. Royer was the first to complete the 5K, crossing the finish line in less than 17 minutes.
Something like a 5K where you break a sweat and it's tough, it's physically tough. That's really nothing compared to the kids in NC Children's Hospital.
Royer and several other members of the UNC Club cross-country team combine their love of running with a cause they believe in.
I'm out here to have a good time, and support the kids. So it's like 2 birds with 1 stone. It's all good things, which I really dig.
Fresh air, good exercise, and an even better cause? We dig it too. In Chapel Hill, I'm Aaron Wygant reporting.
Including Dance Marathon, Carolina for the Kids raised $500,000 for the Children's Hospital last year. Andrew will be dancing, with those college kids in April.
is home to some of the most elite college athletes in the country in almost every sport.
Nathan Bernstein tells us one of the newer additions to Carolina doesn't quite have the same background in athletics as some other Tar Heels.
Sophomore Sammy Jo Holzer walked onto the women's novice rowing team as a coxswain about 2 months ago. She's completely new to the sport. In fact, she might be one of the very few Division I athletes who can say this.
I have absolutely no prior athletic experience whatsoever. Ready, and up. I got into my mind that coxing was something that was possible that I could do because I'm a very small, very fragile human being.
Not knowing much about rowing, I asked Coach Anthony Brock what exactly a coxswain does.
A coxswain is basically the coach on the water. They are in charge of motivating the crew, steering the crew. A racehorse has a jockey. Yeah, the crew needs a jockey as well.
At 5 foot 90 pounds, she's the ideal size for a traditional coxswain. But her stature isn't what drew her to the position.
I'm a very competitive, very outgoing, very loud, very stubborn, and very bossy individual.
Still a rookie in the most extreme sense, Holzer has quickly adapted to a position defined by leadership and communication.
It's impressive that she's picked up so quickly, but what we're looking for is, someone with the right personality and the ability to take control of any situation we throw them in. It's for little angry people. That's what we look for.
I don't know about angry, but Holzer shows the potential to make a big splash for Carolina rowing. In Chapel Hill, I'm Nathan Bernstein, reporting.
5 feet tall, loud, stubborn, and bossy. Kind of sounds like someone else that I know.
I don't know who that would be. It's definitely not me. I'll say
No
that
idea.
much. The 5 feet part, maybe.
Maybe.
Not the angry part.
Maybe.
That's
I'm
for
sure you would be a great coxswain if you wanted to.
Subpar facilities and equipment are worries of the past for Carolina Gymnastics. Haley Ray shows us the team's new lab.
After 15 years of planning and $500,000 in donations, the UNC gymnastics team has a new space to train in. Before the renovations, the equipment was on multiple levels, making it hard for the team to get the most out of practice.
This is the exact same room that we were in. They raised everything up 6 feet, so it's all level now. Before, the floor was 6 feet lower than we are now, and then you went up a step and there were the beams, you went up a step, there were the bars, and then you went up like another 6 feet. And there was the vault. So they raised everything up to the level of the vault.
Construction began in April, and the new facility was open to the team at the beginning of September. A level floor isn't the only change. Donations helped buy all new equipment. A safer training environment is another added benefit. Now the athletes don't have to worry about falling flat in the middle of a routine.
We had random mats everywhere, and if you weren't paying attention and just running, you would just trip because there'd be random holes places, and I'm like, what is this? Why?
The Rams Club coordinated the fundraising efforts to jumpstart the renovation, and multiple Carolina gymnastic alums donated large portions. The improved gym has led to sharper routines, just in time for the upcoming January season.
We've already seen improvements in some of the gymnasts on our team, some of the returning gymnasts, and it's been fantastic. We actually have more functional square footage, but on a smaller footprint.
Although the gym seems complete, one small addition is in the works. The gymnasts are already picking out a spot for a 2016 Eagle Championship poster. In Chapel Hill, I'm Haley Ray reporting.
UNC Gymnastics opens its season at home on January 10th against William & Mary. Imagine if one of UNC's varsity teams practiced all semester to play just one game. Danielle Wallace shows us how this dance team is getting ready for its one and only fall performance.
The Star Heels dance team is leaping towards its fall showcase. These 36 women are practicing their pirouettes and improving their pliés. Star Heels choreographer Hunter Davis says although the dancers practice, they don't have to make perfect.
And I hope that we can continue to push people slightly. So we don't push people too much out of their comfort zones, but I hope that we can continue to push people to try to do their own personal best. And I think that being able to perform is really important.
The Star Heels certainly have an extensive skill set. From modern to jazz to even ballet, The ladies put in long hours to hone their talents. The hours of work not only build muscle, but more importantly, build strong friendships.
It's defined like my work ethic and body, because I hurt all the time. And I don't know, it's given me some of the best friends I'll ever have, so.
The dancers rave about the group's family aspect and say the support system is what really matters to them.
The team means family, people to talk to when everything else is wrong in college and you're away from your real family. It means a support system that you can always fall back on.
This dance family is ready to show us its strengths on and off the dance floor. In Chapel Hill, I'm Danielle Wallace, reporting.
Lewis, I think you could fit in with those star heels. I want to see your favorite move.
Oh, well, I'm a big fan of the fist pump. You got to get really deep down in your obliques and just, you got to come up like that. Yeah, see? You got to
An
really
ab workout? I like the double fist pump. We're going to try it together. This one. Like a 1,
there it 1,
is. 2.
Thanks for watching.
Have a good night.